Welcome back everyone to my YouTube channel. This is the part 3 of the discussion about the contemporary interstate system. And now let's go to the theoretical perspective of the interstate system. Okay, there are different theories about the interstate system. First, you have realism, liberalism, constructivism, and Marxism. Let's take up one by one with this one. First, realism. According to the realists, assume that just like human individuals, states are rational actors and their primary concern is to maximize their self-interest. It also assumes that the structure of the international system is anarchy. Anarchy does not mean absolute chaos, but in the absence of central authority that can protect states from one another, there is the constant possibility of conflicts. So it has been the assumption of the realist that the individual states will act as a rational actor. It has always been the interest of their nation is their priority. And this matod pa, according to this advocates of realism, that the structure of international system as of today, they call it an anarchy. Anarchy does not mean, as I said, an absolute chaos, but in the absence of central authority that can protect states. This is their assumption. Even though there is the presence of the so-called international organizations, but technically it cannot really protect an individual state. Another is liberalism. It emphasizes the pacifying role of international organizations, economic interdependence, and democracy. These three legs of liberalism are responsible for the peace of the post-Cold War era, following the fall of the Berlin Wall and the disintegration of the Soviet Union. Liberalists further highlight the triumph of liberalism over competing ideologies. It reached the end of history, according to Fukuyama in his prediction of the end of history. Okay, we'll discuss that later on about the evolution of the contemporary interstate system. So I'll go back to liberalism, pacifying role of international organization. It is emphasizing now, gentlemen and ladies, the liberality of the nation state and the economic interdependence among states in the world. Another theory, constructivism. It is concerned with the relationship between units and structures. It answers how we can understand the relationship between states and anarchy. It argues that both states' interest and anarchy are socially constructed, that is, they are created by the state themselves. If there is chaos in the world, if there is chaos among countries in the world, it is also a creation. According to this perspective, it has always been also a creation of the state itself. So the state itself is also to be blamed why there is conflict among countries in the world today, despite the system that we are following. Another is Marxism. It is a social theory that aims to scrutinize and critique the underlying foundations upon which contemporary world system is built. Because, gentlemen and ladies, the contemporary world system is built through what we saw, the so-called interdependence among states in the world today. It argues that the world is primarily divided along economic lines between the core developed states and the peripheral developing states. And that is true, gentlemen and ladies. It is predicted that capitalism is advanced, industrialized states will overthrown and replaced by socialism and eventually communism. This is just a prediction. And, well, the prediction of Karl Marx that capitalism in advanced industrial states will overthrown and replaced by socialism, but it was not realized. Even though there was post war that happened, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. That was the conflict between communism and capitalism or democracy. To sum it up, the different theories, these are the competing theories of the interstate system: realism, liberalism, constructivism, and Marxism. Okay. Competing theories under the central argument. The central argument of realism is this: state always compete for power. And we witness, for example, you have United States and China. That is correct. State always compete for power. How about liberalism? Democracy, free trade, and international organizations matter to state behavior. There is more of the so-called globalization, gentlemen and ladies. Democracy, free trade, and so on and so forth. That's liberalism. Constructivism, norms and ideas can be reconstitute state behavior, interests, identities, and preferences. Marxism, capitalist motives cause conflicts between core, semi-peripheral, and peripheral states. That's the argument of Marxism. Because of this capitalism, it caused conflict in the world today. Now, second, assumptions of realism. States are rational actors. International system is anarchic. That's the assumptions. I don't know if you agree that state are rational. Technically, the state is really a rational actors. And I don't know if it's an international system, state sovereignty, the principle of territoriality, the principle of so-called non-interference is anarchic. It can cause chaos, matod pa, in the rest of the world. How about liberalism's assumption? States are rational actors, international system is anarchy. They are just the same. How about constructivism? Institutions, including anarchy, are socially constructed. What does it mean? Aha. Okay. So, the institutions, the state, could also be blamed why there is anarchy in the world. Then Marxism, history is a class struggle. This is a class struggle between the if you remember, gentlemen, and the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, the production owner and the so-called the worker, gentlemen and ladies. That is, we call it a class struggle under Marxism. What is the focus of analysis of the different competing theories? In realism, the focus of analysis is the states, liberalism is the states, and constructivism is individuals. And Marxism, the focus of analysis is the world system. Wherein, according to this theory in Marxism, that this capitalism is the cause of what? Chaos, anarchy in this world. For the theorists, those are the theories of the different competing theories of the interstate system. And now this is the evolution of the interstate system. That is the Cold War from 1947 to 1991. It started between the United States and the Soviet Union. The war between the Soviet Union and the United States. The relationship between the US and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Okay? Advancement of nuclear weapons and technologies. They are trying to show to the world who is the most powerful nation in the world. There is the so-called hegemonic system that they're trying to present to the world. Is it the United States as the most powerful, or it is the Soviet Union? And the Soviet Union tried to spread communism to the entire world. And even it reached in the Eastern Europe, China, North Korea, Vietnam, and Latin America. Okay, this conflict happened in which the battleground, shall we say, the so-called Germany, and there was the so-called the Berlin occupation and it created the Berlin Wall. Under During the so-called Cold War, there was an incident that happened, the so-called Civil War in the Greek Civil War between the Civil War within the nation, wherein each country, the United States and the Soviet Union, is trying to make an alliance with the rebels, with the government, and so on and so forth. Another war that happened, okay, or not exactly the war, okay, between Harry Truman and the Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin. These are the two leaders during the Cold War, gentlemen and ladies. People's Republic of China, okay, on the case of the Republic of China in Taiwan, gentlemen and ladies, because Taiwan wanted to be separated from the communist China. Another, the 1951, the Korean War, wherein the United States made an ally with the South Korea, and the Soviet Union made an alliance with North Korea. Okay. Another, the Hungarian Revolution, and again, both both countries, the United States and the Soviet Union, tried to make an alliance with two competing parties within the country that having a civil war. Then the Cuban Revolution, for example, and so on and so forth. Okay, they are trying to insist that they are the most powerful, that capitalism, democracy is the best, and the other side, the United Union Soviet Socialist Republic, will say socialism and communism is the best. Okay, that was an armed struggle, a nuclear arm race between these two countries in the world. Who among the two countries in the world as the most powerful, gentlemen and ladies? And that's why, because of that, there was the creation of the Berlin Wall, wherein the East Germany was controlled by the so-called the USSR, and the West Germany was controlled by the United States of America. Another incident that happened, the Soviet war in Afghanistan, wherein the United States also made an alliance with the other party. And now, globalization and the interstate system. As we finish the discussion, gentlemen and ladies. Okay. All right. Globalization. What is the effect of globalization on the contemporary interstate system? Okay. There are two approaches, outside in view and inside out view. Okay. Outside in view. It regards globalization as an exogenous process that is making a profound impact on states' affairs. States become powerless to the forces of the market. That's what others saw in this contemporary interstate system. Globalization is seen as an extreme form of interdependence, such that the ordering principles of sovereignty, territoriality, and non-interference are called into question. The implication is that globalization is undermining the contemporary interstate system. We cannot anymore say that there is an absolute sovereignty, an absolute non-interference, an absolute territoriality in its state in the world. That's the outside in view. How about the inside out view? Globalization recognizes that states are the ones influencing the level of global interconnectedness today. So it is the role of the state is responsible why there is the global interconnectedness today. It emphasizes that globalization is not an independent phenomenon that takes place in the vacuum. While it affects the states, states are also shape globalization. If globalization is a transformative process that redefines the conceptions of state sovereignty and territory and does not necessarily replace them, then it is better to think of the contemporary system as a global interstate system. So we cannot, in this view, we cannot set aside the role of the nation state in shaping the world today. But we cannot deny the fact that globalization plays a very important role in the transformation of the nation state, in the transformation of the contemporary system in the global interstate system. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, and see you on my next video. Have a nice day.